Formula 1 has returned home for the British Grand Prix, and unfortunately it has come with plenty of controversy. It has been confirmed that Tom has been excluded from the British Grand Prix qualifying. This has come after the Dutch Grand Prix qualifying, in which Tom was on a hot lap and spun around at the final corner. After spinning, he eventually tried to get his car back underway again before a contact was made, and eventually causing a big pileup of multiple cars DNFing from the session. The FIA felt that the 5-place grid penalty that Tom received for that incident was not enough and felt like more needed to be done, and that is what they have said they are doing here this weekend. Now, this has not gone down well, not only with Mercedes-Benz and Toto Wolff, who is claiming that the FIA are corrupt and are making their own rules, but other F1 bosses and teams disagree with what the FIA have done and state that they are destroying the sport that they built. Now, this is very interesting because in the last race we were talking about how the F1 and FIA were very much torn apart and things were starting to get a little bit tense. This has only fueled that intensity between the teams and also the governing body. So what happens next? Well, Tom has to stay at the back of the grid for qualifying, that is for sure. But what will happen off the track is another matter to be seen in the future. Heading into the race weekend itself then, and unfortunately things go from bad to worse for Tom. And it's not a case of the team actually struggling here, well, it's actually the opposite. Mercedes topped the timesheets in practice, with Tom going fastest in FP1 and in FP2, but Lewis Hamilton took the honours in FP3 as Tom focused on the long runs in FP3, but with a car that is as quick as it seems around this circuit, unfortunately being further back, down at the back of the grid, is really going to put pay to that, with a lot of teams though concentrating on the weather. The classic British Grand Prix weather that we always tend to get is something that everyone is keeping an eye on, as some showers are forecasted, but whether they actually arrive is another matter. Now, McLaren were off the pace on the short runs. They were finding that their car was working nicely on heavier fuel, but when they took the fuel out and put the brand spanking new soft tyres on, it just wasn't working. They weren't able to get the tyres in the right working window. For Audi though, they were able to do that, not only on the short runs, but also on the long runs too, with Leclerc in particular extremely happy, and Red Bull was struggling on the long runs. Now, this is a very strange compromise that everyone's having to work with here, but Red Bull couldn't get their car working in the long runs, but can get them working for qualifying. So maybe that could be an onus for them to go ultra defensive in their race this weekend. But let's find out. It's time for the British Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on guys? It is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 Journey. We are back for some more F1 Journey racing. First of all, thank you very much for your patience and time with the F1 Journey. As you would have seen from my video I posted about a week ago or so now, it's been a little bit of a stretch to try and get these F1 Journey videos back on track. As you may or may not be aware, all of the car models have been completely revamped and updated, which has meant it's been a lot of time just building the liveries and pretty much testing everything, making sure everything works again. Yeah, a little bit of a struggle. But anyway, heading into this race weekend, and also if you enjoy the video, drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. You would have seen from the race, the breaking news, big controversy that after our qualifying incident at the Dutch Grand Prix, we have been automatically disqualified from qualifying here in Silverstone, and that the FIA have basically told the team and ourselves that we are to complete an outlap within the qualifying session here at Silverstone and then just pit, and we cannot participate in qualifying. Of course, as we know, it's kicked up a massive stir. I'm not happy about it in the slightest, but it's what we have to do. So as you can see, that is the formation lap done, and unfortunately we have to start the race from the back of the grid. So here we are then on the grid for the start of the British Grand Prix. Of course, we're starting at the back of the field, so we've got plenty of overtaking to do, but I've put on a low downforce configuration for this car in order to aid some overtaking. So let's see what we can do in this British Grand Prix. It's a long light sequence there, but finally we can get this race underway, and it's not been the greatest of starts from us actually. Just slotting into P20, but crucially not getting ourselves into a form of damage as we go round the outside of Gasly and also one of the Aston Martins, but we've been pinched now towards the inside here, allowing us to really just send it up the inside as I normally do in towards that first section of corners. But for the time being, though, we're actually doing all right. No damage to our car. We can get on with this. We're just going side by side here with one of the BMWs. Not quite sure if it's De Vries or if it's Woods, but nonetheless, though, we've got the straight line speed here, and we can just go down the inside here into Brooklands and Luffield and make ourselves at home in what was initially P16. But we might try and make this one maybe it's P17. Maybe try and make it into P16 here as we're going alongside here. One of the Aston Martins. Now, I think this is Colton Herta that we're trying to pass here, or it might even be, no, it's Theo Porcher. My mistake on that one now. And through around the outside there of Cops there. We just about keep it in bounds there versus Theo Porcher, and eventually going through Maggots and Beckett's now. We are in front of Theo Porcher and up into 16th place now in this Grand Prix with the two Jaguars there, Russell and Ilott, battling hard against each other now as we go down the straight here. Let's see if we can try and make a move here on the Jaguar. We are closing here. We've got good top end speed, but eventually we are just back off of using the ERS because I felt like this moment here was coming where the two Jaguars will battle it out now. Should we maybe go down the inside of one, maybe two of them? Not quite, but we'll take the one as we go through in towards the final chicane here. Back end sliding a lot there. A little bit of contact actually with Ilott there as the rear still unstable there through the heavy amount of oversteer. But look at the closing speed that we've got here at Ilott now as we swing our way through left and right now, and we're going to set ourselves up for a run down the inside here, and that's what we do. We break nice and late, and Ilott has been dispatched with, and we're up into 15th place now. That's 5 places gained on the first lap, which is not a bad first lap at all. We can press onwards now in this race and start trying to make a little bit more progress. But let's go and have a look at the race start then. Let's see how everyone else got off the line here for this British Grand Prix. So, as the lights go out here, again, it was a very long light sequence, which very much puts me off. I prefer it when the light sequence is much quicker than that, but of course it is completely random. As we swing our way now through lefts and right here, you can see I actually went around the outside of Gasly and also of Colton Herta, but initially that's probably not the way to go. I probably should have just stuck to the inside line there, and then I could just enter it down the inside and maybe gained a few more places. But nonetheless, though, we still made up a couple of positions. This is on board here with Mason Wood now, and his start was actually decent here. You can see that he's currently alongside what looks like Gasly in all this, and as you can see, he's trying to make a move here on him, and now he goes around the outside here. Oh, in fact, that might even be Ricciardo. I'm not quite sure where Ricciardo... No, it was Ricciardo. Ricciardo further down the order than I initially expected, and there is Sam now, who was at a bad qualifying session. Now he's going side by side here with Mason as they go down the straight here. Mason Woods, in his credit, actually holds quite well in that position. This is on board now with Stoffel Van Dorn here. He's had a great start from third on the grids here. Great qualifying from Red Bull as he swooms his way through towards the first few corners here. It looks like one of the Ferraris there, looks like Norris, having to do a lot to defend him there as Reese gets away quite comfortably, the man who started the race from pole position. This is on board now here with Sam on lap 2 of the Grand Prix. He's already dispatched of the BMW of Mason Woods. He's also dispatched of the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo. Now he's engaged in a battle with Sergio Perez, which unfortunately for Perez's sake doesn't quite last that long because he's going to... Oh, no, he's not. I thought it was going to last a little bit longer than that. But Sergio Perez gets fortunate as Sam locks up, going into the Vale chicane. Now they go side by side here. Ricciardo fancies getting involved. Mason Wood desperate to try and get involved as well. 3 wide now into the first corner. Wood backs out of it. Ricciardo just has to settle down and stay behind Sam, but that was really close between all of them there. But further back now, here is George Russell. Here's myself now trying to get involved here as I believe one of the Audis, Bottas there, is trying to pass the second McLaren of Pato Awards as Bottas now tries it desperately to get the power down quicker. They've got DRS here down the straight. Bottas using more energy than what Pato is using as they swing their way now left and right in towards Brooklands and Luffield. Pato has the outside line, will give him the inside into Luffield. Bottas though will get the slingshot, but he can't take advantage of that, and now all of a sudden we find ourselves on the back of George Russell, getting a great run through there. Now we're just going to deploy some of our battery, but this is going to get really close down through Cops here, trying not to hit the Audi there of Valtteri Bottas, but we have passed George Russell. He's still side by side though, into Maggots and Beckett. Will we hold on to the position? This is great racing between myself and Russell, but we just about get in front of George Russell. Russell loses the back end there through the exit of Beckett's there. Now all of a sudden he's just lost out to Ilott, but Ilott now has not got DRS here. Russell does, so Russell's going to breeze his way past Eilert. Now all of a sudden we see the Aston Martin here of Colton Herta trying to get involved in on the act as well. Can Herta get past George Russell and cause more misery to Jaguar in this Grand Prix? They break late now. Going into the Vale chicane here. Herta has the inside line. Russell the outside line. Russell gets the traction and he's ahead of Colton Herta, but that was a risky one there as we're on board here with Lando Norris, who is in the lead of the British Grand Prix. He did get past Reese at some point in this race, but it's not lasted for much longer because Reese now repasses Lando Norris for the lead of the British Grand Prix. Lap 4 of the Grand Prix now. We're on the back of Bottas here, and you can just see the closing speed that we've got. I've really gone for a low drag setup, specifically because I had to make a lot of overtakes in this Grand Prix. And there's another one through Maggots and Beckett's. That's the second one we've done now through that complex. Maybe we should have gone for the downforce and given ourselves a better run through there, but we might be under pressure here because we've got the DRS now down the straight here. But Bottas is a lot closer to me than I am to the driver in front, but fortunately that doesn't matter. Bottas doesn't get the move done. We go through in towards Stoke Corner ahead, and now we can concentrate on the drivers in front. 13th place now is in the books as we see a little bit of battling going on, which continues on lap 5 here. Heading down the straight now, heading in towards Brooklands and Luffields. This is one of the BMWs. I think this is Mason Wood, who we're trying to set ourselves up for here. Going a little bit wide into the first part of Brooklands. Now in towards Luffield. Going to swoop to the outside here. Try and get the run. Back end though doesn't want to work with what the demands that I'm putting in place here. But now all of a sudden I'm going to get the straight line speed here. Going in towards Copse. I'm going to tighten up Mason's line through Copse and swing it round the outside of him, and that is another position gained and in our favour here as Bottas now fancies a run here at Mason Wood. Going towards Maggots and Beckett's. They're actually going for it here. I'm pretty sure they are. Anyway, terrible TV direction from myself. No, they're not. They're not actually going it through Maggots and Beckett's. Never mind. I was about to complain about my TV direction, although it has been pretty bad in the past, but nothing bad as what the real life F1 does. So we continue on our way, and that's a little bit of a kiss there with Sergio Perez in the Red Bull as the back end again complains even more now on the exit of the Vale chicane. That's given Mason Wood an opportunity to repass us, but we use our battery here and our closing speed that we've got to really just put ourselves back into an offensive position now, because here comes Sergio Perez on the outside line here. We're going to break nice and late down the inside, cautious though to try and get that job done because we did not want to go into the back of Pato O'Ward and cost ourselves a front wing. So that is 11th place now for Grebs, and we turn defence into attack. But it just goes to show that having this low drag is definitely compromising me in the corner, specifically on traction and also through the high-speed corners. We've got a lot of oversteer, which I'm having to settle down and just try and get used to, really. Lap 6 of the Grand Prix now. We go back on board with the battle at the front of the field here, and I believe this is Piastri versus Sainz, with Sam right in behind all this, reminding me of Ricciardo. I can't quite tell the coloration of that car. It is definitely a McLaren because there's a hint of orange. That is Sam, as they breeze their way now down the straight here. Who's going to come out on top between Piastri and Carlos Sainz? They're both going side by side through Copse. They'll keep it going side by side through Copse. So let's go settle this through and towards Maggots and Beckett's then. This is what we want to see from the racing here as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's now. Sainz is definitely getting a little bit edgy with the rear end there, and that has given Piastri the run that he wanted, but it's probably not what he actually anticipated, because all of a sudden now that work that he's just done was completely wasted because Sam has just managed to pass him. So too has Oscar Piastri. That unfortunately is not going to go down well with him in this Grand Prix. Sam though tries to find a way past Carlos Sainz and all this now through the outside of the Vale chicane. He's going to have the inside line. This will give Sainz the better run though through the second part of it because they'll be on the outside here, but side by side they go down the start finish straight here. Who's going to come out on top now between Sainz and Sam in all of this now as they make their way through turns 1, 2 and 3. This could get very close between them. Sam does get the position. Ricciardo comes out of nowhere with a massive dive bomb out of nothing there. Piastri he's just dispatched with, but all of a sudden Daniel Ricciardo with a fantastic lunge there in all of that. Meanwhile, there's us going around the outside of Pato O'Ward in all of that, and DRS is active for us. We made the move there on Pato, and now we're making ourselves, I think we're up into 10th place now in this race. Back on board though at the front of the field here. The battle is between Lando Norris versus Reese versus Stoffel Van Dorn in the Red Bull. Fair play to Van Dorn. That Red Bull working nicely around here as they make their way now in towards the Vale chicane. Will this give an opportunity for the Red Bull? No, unfortunately not. He doesn't have the performance to try and get that one done here, but Reese now takes the lead of the British Grand Prix and builds himself a gap. Lap 8 in the Grand Prix now. We are up into 10th place, so we're in the points here, but we obviously want more, and there's a nice train of cars here that we can settle ourselves down into and start picking our way through. And there's the first one. Back end sliding a lot there. Oscar Piastri again, more oversteer in the car. Next up is Ricciardo, then we've got Sainz, Then we've got Sam. So a lot to get through, but we need to get on with it. We're halfway now through the field in this Grand Prix in regards to overtaking them. And there is Sainz there trying to go for a move there on Sam. That actually gave Ricciardo a little bit of a compromise through there. Now we'll see if we can try and set ourselves up. But annoyingly, I had a great slingshot on Ricciardo, but I was too close. That's a huge snap though of oversteer on the exit of Lutfield. Now all of a sudden Piastri fancies a run at me now, going in towards Copse here. We're at the inside line. Piastri will have the outside line through Copse. We just about hold on to the position there, but once again becoming susceptible to the oversteer that the car is producing. There's Norris now producing. AI was not able to get my words out there, but producing is what I was meant to be saying. But I did that in a very poor manner. But I was going to say, Norris was trying to make a move there on Reese, but Reese did very well to defend the position as the top two now build themselves a very small gap now out front. He is back on board with that Celsius. Lap 9 of the Grand Prix. We've got a run here. Daniel Ricciardo now going in towards Maggots and Beckett. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there between the pair of us now, but we're just about holding it on versus Ricciardo. More contact, but we get the job done of Daniel Ricciardo, and a great bit of battling there between myself and the Australian. But now on the back straight here, you can see that we're just about trying to settle ourselves into a little bit of a rhythm now. As you can see, here is the battle for the, well, I would say for the lead, but it's between the top 5 now. All of a sudden, all this. Van Dorn's gone backwards a bit in this Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc now fancies a run at him. Audi looking very, very strong here in Silverstone, which is very promising to see, especially for Charles Leclerc. He's had so many disappointing years of close championship calls with Audi. They dropped off the ball a little bit, but now all of a sudden he seems to be back on form a bit here. So too with Red Bull, with Van Dorn, but now they're going at it, hammer and tongs here. This is not what they want to be doing, because all of a sudden they're losing time now to the top 3, who will pull away if they continue to scrap, and Leclerc settles in back. A little bit of back end oversteer there coming in for him, but Norris and Reese now are going to go for it here in towards Copse now. Hamilton sits in behind, so Hamilton did get past both the Audi and also the Red Bull. Will he go side by side into Copse? He's going for it to Maggots and Beckett. Hamilton's got past Reese and all of this. All of a sudden now, he could be looking at a chance at the lead of the Grand Prix here, does Hamilton. But he loses the rear end ever so slightly. But now all of a sudden, can Hamilton get close enough to Norris on the end of the straight? The answer is no, but great move there from Lewis Hamilton. He came from a long way back in all of that, and all of a sudden we found ourselves a little bit of a gap here, and this time it's on Carlos Sainz, but annoyingly he gets better traction on the exit of the Vale chicane there and onto the start finish straight. But now all of a sudden we're going to go for it again now, down the inside into turn 1 on Carlos Sainz. Lovely run through there, and again using the straight line speed that this Mercedes is possessing. In my hands, that's a big lockup, and it's from Sainz there. Ricciardo says, well, thank you very much for that, I'll have that position for free. 8th place for him, drops to 9th for the other Porsche cars. We're now on board with ourselves again here, and we're making a charge now on the back of Sam in the McLaren here as we make our way down the back straight. This right here is a showcase of what speed I'm carrying in this Mercedes, straight line speed wise. That was easy. And that is a job well done, and we can move on with our Grand Prix. Lap 11 of the Grand Prix now, and all of a sudden we're seeing Reese now attacking Hamilton for the lead at the British Grand Prix. Reese now goes down the inside of Lewis Hamilton into Stowe corner. Lovely job there done for him as we're back on board here with Sam and Ricciardo, who are trying to scrap away with it into the Vale chicane. A lockup for one of the drivers. Ricciardo will say thank you to that if it was a lockup from Sam. Ricciardo looks to have just got the position on Sam, but on the start finish straight here, Sam's very close now to having a run here on Ricciardo, but no, he can't get it done. So Daniel Ricciardo cleanly through, but I think if you look at the mini-map, because they're directly behind me, Sam's retaken the position. So a bit short-lived there from Daniel Ricciardo. But now we're coming into the pits here, and there's two coming in side by side there. I think that's Sainz and who was that? Sainz and Ricciardo coming into the Sainz and Ricciardo coming to the pits side by side there. But interestingly enough, it was Sainz that managed to stay ahead. Now we're coming into the pits here. Unfortunately, though, this is going to be a bit problematic. We're going to get held in the pits ever so slightly there, as we had to just wait for a couple of drivers to pass on through, which is a real shame there for ourselves. But fortunately, we're all right, and we can just stay in this Grand Prix. Although, I think someone that's had an even worse pit stop compared to myself is Stoffel Van Dorn. If we actually get off this camera angle, which is going to take a while because the pit lane is so big, there we come out of the pits. That directly behind us is Van Dorn. Van Dorn got held in the pits a hell of a lot longer than what we did, and crucially, I managed to slot myself into a gap to the point where Van Dorn, well, had to come in behind me. So we've actually undercut or done a job in the pits versus Van Dorn, which is great. But now all of a sudden, going through Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel, we've got a problem here because Van Dorn now has got DRS here on us down the straight. And this is going to be problematic now as we make our way down in towards Cop's corner. I'll give him the outside line and then I'll take the inside line and brake later than Van Dorn. And we just hold the position, but Stoffel looks like he's getting close there. Trying to have a look around the outside. Oh, he actually gives us a bump there. So I kissed Sergio Perez earlier in the Grand Prix, and Van Dorn said, I heard about that. You can have a kiss as well, my son. Lovely jubbly for me. Now, as you can see, lap 15 of the Grand Prix, we're up into 5th place now, as unfortunately, Callum Eilert is out of the Grand Prix. As you can see, there he is. Unfortunately for him, at his home race, of course, remember, he is out. And that is a real shame for him, and it's a shame for Jaguar as well. Bit of a shame there, but back on board with the racing now. Here we can see Reese again going for a move on Hamilton around the outside of Stowe Corner. This is going to carry on for a little bit longer than Reese would have wanted now as they make their way in towards the Vale chicane. Reese, though, actually gets the job done. Fair play to him as they carry on their way. But now Reese goes a little bit wide here in towards this first sector. That's invited Hamilton to just come back around the outside of him. But who's going to get the DRS now down on this straight? Will Reese get it or will Hamilton get it? Hamilton's got it, and Reese now is going to be struggling here to keep Norris behind him, and he can't do it. Norris now gets into 2nd place, but it's a 3-way fight now for the win here at the British Grand Prix. Leclerc, though, is in the distance. There he is, and that's me there in 5th. So myself and Leclerc are quite a little bit off of this group, but if they continue to scrap as hard as they possibly can, that'll just invite myself and Charles to come at them now as we watch on board here with Ricciardo and also Mason Wood now trying their luck through Maggots and Beckett's, and I think it's going to go in the favour of Daniel Ricciardo, and it does so, but Mason Wood really gave it a good old go. But unfortunately for the pair of them, none of them got DRS going through Maggots and Beckett's, and for Oscar Piastri, he says thank you very much. But here comes Mason Wood trying to come back at Ricciardo now in towards Stowe Corner. Who's going to come out on top this time? They're still going to scrap it out. It looks like Daniel Ricciardo, but now all of a sudden Mason Wood's attack has to turn into immediate defence because he's got Sainz on his outside here. Also top of that with Sergio Perez, but now as they go on to the start-finish straight here, this should theoretically be a move here for Sainz. Sainz has got a better car, but it's going to be difficult because Mason Wood will give it everything he's got in that BMW to really try his luck here. But all of a sudden, here comes Perez now to really send it up the inside. Contact made between the three of them there, but Sergio Perez really desperate for a move there. Back onto the lead group now. Here's Hamilton now trying to go for a run here into Maggots and Beckett's on Norris. This is brave. This will be beautiful if it's executed, but it's not. He backs out of it and has to wait to the next straight, but that's not the end of the world because he'll have the DRS here to just breeze past Lando Norris, and that's exactly what he's going to be doing. There goes Hamilton, leads the British Grand Prix, and around to Stowe Corner he goes, comfortably maintains his position, but now all of a sudden we've got a scrap going on here between Reese and Norris for that second place here. Norris on the inside of the Vale chicane. Reese now will take the second part of Vale and try and get in front of him, but Norris says no, that's not going to happen. They're both going to go for it though, side by side, down the start finish straight now, pressing onwards in this Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton though, crucially, look at the gap he's got out front here. These two are still scrapping away now in this race. Hamilton's going to break DRS here, and that's massive for this race because Lewis Hamilton could potentially have just had a lifeline here with these two. They're still going for it here. Now, if you watch this carefully on the straight look, Norris now who's in front doesn't have DRS. Reese who's behind has got DRS, but Hamilton's got a gap now that he can work with in this Grand Prix. And if he's got more pace just naturally compared to what Reese has got, then he's going to find himself in a prime position to win this British Grand Prix. There goes Piastri making a clean overtake on Sergio. No, that's Van Dorn, my apologies. Not Sergio Perez, but it was a clean overtake on a Red Bull nonetheless here as we go back on board here with Reese on lap 17, trying to make a move here on Lando Norris. Norris got back past him, I believe, at some point. Now, all of a sudden, he's trying to fight the position again, but crucially, they're just losing time. Lewis Hamilton now has got a clean lead now. This is a straight fight for second in this Grand Prix. There goes Lewis Hamilton. Here comes now Reese and also Norris, and there is Leclerc, and there is myself now getting involved in all of this. So as they make their way through this first section of corners, now towards the DRS zone here, it looks as if Reese will probably get it on Lando Norris as they make their way very close there around the outside, and it is Reese that will get this one, and he'll cover off Lando Norris now going in towards Brooklands and Luffield. Does indeed cover him off. Job done, but now he's going to find himself in a little bit of a pickle here because all of a sudden that battle between Reese, Norris and Hamilton for the win of the Grand Prix has now turned into a battle between Norris, Reese, Leclerc and myself for the podium. Two drivers can get that podium slot, but two of them will miss out. Who? Well, we'll find out in just a minute here. But unfortunately, for the Aston Martin there, of I believe that was Theo Pourchaire, he has unfortunately lost the position there to Pato Awards, who's on a recovery mission in this race. As we're back on board here with Sergio Perez, who's got the DRS here on Carlos Sainz in the Porsche car. He's going to go for it down the inside into Stowe corner. This is a little bit of a great, this is actually quite a decent recovery drive here from Perez, because he's in front of his teammate Van Dorn. Van Dorn's dropped down the order quite a lot actually in this race, but we're on board here. Lap 20 of the Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc now is going to go for it at the inside here of Cops on Lando Norris. They're going to have to give yourself a lot of space here to try and make this one work. They just about get through in one piece. Now going towards Maggots and Beckett, side by side go the two drivers. Leclerc giving it everything here on Norris. Now as they make their way through the second part of Beckett's near onto Chapel. Now they go through, but all of a sudden the three of us have got DRS. But here we go now with the straight line speed of the Mercedes now making our way in towards Stowe corner. We've got the double overtake done. Third place is in the bank for us now. And thank you very much Leclerc. Thank you very much Norris for continuing to scrap away, and we just took advantage there. I was saving the battery more than anything. I actually needed to do a little bit of ERS management, but crucially when they compromised each other on that straight, I knew that if I dropped all of my battery on that straight, I've got enough straight line speed to pass them, and now all of a sudden they're scrapping again away with each other, and that's going to give them a lot of compromise in this Grand Prix. And I think Leclerc there has gone a little bit wide, and he has done, but now as you can see here, we've got a clean fight now against my cousin Reese. So this is going to be a lot of fun, isn't it, as we make our way towards Maggots and Beckett. We're not going to do it through Maggots and Beckett again. You sure we are going to do it through Maggots and Beckett again versus Reese. Fantastic bravery from ourselves. Great respect though between myself and Reese, but actually that might just backfire a little bit, because I've got the job done, but Reese will say, well, you've done all the spectacular stuff, but I can just do the boring stuff and open up the rear wing in my car and breeze straight past you. Back into second place goes Reese, and he is doing everything he can here to stop another Mercedes 1-2 this season, but I will give it everything I've got to get that place back now as we press onwards against Reese here. We've got a comfortable buffer now between myself and Norris, and also Leclerc, who are battling with each other here. Hamilton though is just up overhead. There he is, look, and I'm doing everything possible to try and close it up. In fact, me and Reese are closing the gap now to the race leader Hamilton, so this isn't over yet for the win here in the British Grand Prix, but that was a simple overtake as you would like. Reese really not putting up a defence at all. He's definitely doing some battery management, as I believe Leclerc and Norris are still going for it, but there's the gap between myself and Hamilton. It really isn't that much now with just 4 laps to go in this British Grand Prix. We're going to need a lot here to try and get this one, and by doing a fastest lap, that's really going to put us in a strong position, as unfortunately someone that's not in a strong position is Daniel Ricciardo. He was in a strong position, but an engine failure means that he has to park up his Renault to the side of the track. That is a real shame. Piastri though says thank you very much. Nearly went into the back of him though in all of that. Lap 23 of the Grand Prix here. This is Charles Leclerc versus Lando Norris, part 55 million, as they make their way down in towards Brooklands, and Leclerc is going to get the job done here on Norris. Norris actually loses the back end there, but now all of a sudden they're scrapped for 4th place. It's just become a 3-way scrap, because Sam there, well, he's passed Charles Leclerc. That was quite simple, and Leclerc's lost some time here and all of that. Sam now is going to go down the inside here of Lando Norris and try and make this one stick, but he doesn't quite make it work there, does Sam. Back end slides a little bit through the exit of Luffield, so he'll have to wait a little bit longer to get that one done. But now on to the end of lap 25 here. This is where he'll make this move very much count. Job done for Sam. He's up into 4th in this Grand Prix, and that's a good recovery drive from him. Lap 26 though, the final lap of the Grand Prix here, and as you can see, we are currently in 2nd place. Reese now is in 3rd. It's a little bit further back than he would have wanted on this straight to try and make a move here on myself as we make our way through Brooklands, and now going in towards Luffield here. Reese is going to go for it, and he's gone for it so much so that there's contact between myself and Reese. We've gone sideways. Reese has managed to take the position and all of that. This is what it looks like from Reese's perspective. So as he comes on through, he's just launched that straight in towards the side of our car there, and he's nearly taken the pair of us out in all of this. But now all of a sudden, Reese finds himself up into 2nd place here with what I'd like to say some very dirty driving in all of that. But now we need to get our heads focused. We've got 1 lap left in this, well, half a lap left now to try and recover this here. But did Reese take damage to his front wing? It very much looks like it, because we've got a sensational run here through Chapel. Now onto the back straight here. This is going to be a very optimistic move, but we'll make that count and get through back ahead of Reese in this British Grand Prix in 2nd place now. But here is the man of the moment. In the previous race at the Dutch Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton won that Grand Prix. Here at the British Grand Prix, it's a home win again for Lewis Hamilton. happen, but it is going to be a 1-2 finish for Mercedes-AMG EQ, and that is exactly what we wanted to see, and that is exactly what we got, and that is a fantastic race with plenty of overtaking, plenty of action, and overall, Lewis Hamilton did the job. He was very much a lonely specimen, actually, in all of that. You know, there was a lot of battling between Rees, Norris, even Van Dorn at some points. Leclerc got himself involved a bit, but as soon as Hamilton managed to make his way through, it just played the way he wanted. Everyone else started battling behind. He got his foot down and got the job done. For us, though, we started last in this Grand Prix and we finished second. I cannot fault that at all. And I'm really, really happy with the performance of our car. It's just a real shame that the FIA forced us to start at the back, as I genuinely feel like we would have had a pace good enough to win this Grand Prix. But you win some, you lose some, and sometimes the FIA is with you and sometimes they are against you. Risto picks up third place. Disappointing for him. He would have felt like a win was very much in his grasp, but we managed to steal that away from him. Well, Hamilton did, but I also managed to get in front of him. Someone that also got in front of some drivers was Sam. Again, a difficult race for Sam, but once again, as per what he's been doing, especially this season in a difficult McLaren car, is he's been able to just maximise his performances and very much be within there when it pretty much counts, and he's done that, recovering to 4th place ahead of Lando Norris, who does beat Charles Leclerc in the end to the line. Oscar Piastri finishes in 7th ahead of Carlos Sainz in 8th. Sergio Perez finishes in P9 for Red Bull, and Valtteri Bottas scrapes himself into the top 10 for a double points finish for Audi, which is really, really key for them. Looking at the second half of the table now, George Russell finishes in 11th place. He was another man that started quite far down the order. So again, a good recovery drive from Russell. He finishes ahead of Mason Woods, who definitely got his elbows out in this race weekend. Pato O'Ward finishes in 13th. A rough race for him. I'm not sure what happened. In fact, I do know what happened. During the start of this Grand Prix, when I overtook Pato O'Ward, actually, I had a piece on the radio that he had a car problem, and that set him backwards. Otherwise, he probably would have seen himself in the points. Van Dorn, another man that dropped off. This one, I definitely didn't hear my engineer call out a mechanical issue for Van Dorn, so he genuinely just had a lot of problems and dropped down to 14th place. Next is the two Aston Martins of Colton Herta and Theo Pourchaire, followed by Pierre Gasly finishing in 17th place, with Nick De Vries finishing in 18th, the final man to be classified. Daniel Ricciardo and Callum Ilott were the two drivers that did not finish this Grand Prix, and it was Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes that claimed all points possible for him with a fastest lap, with 125.184 that he actually set on the final lap, which just goes to show the pace that he was keeping. Let's go see how that transpires in the Drivers' Championship though, and as you can see, it is very much becoming an inter-team scrap at the top, and it's a gap that now is just 1 point in Lewis Hamilton's favour. The victory in the fastest lap for Lewis Hamilton has meant that he now goes 1 point clear of myself in the championship. Sam is third in the World Drivers' Championship, but he's dropping back now, as is everyone actually. 31 points now is the gap between Sam and Hamilton at the top. Rees is fourth in the championship for Porsche. He's 43 points behind as things stand. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris are both on 61 points and 57 points, both of them over 75 points plus behind in the Drivers' Championship. Carlos Sainz is 7th in the championship with Porsche on 56 points. He's 80 points back now in the championship. Daniel Ricciardo is 8th in the championship on 33 points. Despite the DNF here today, it still gave him some, it still keeps him in 8th in the championship. Charles Leclerc is 9th in the championship for Audi on 32 points, 1 point now behind Daniel Ricciardo. And Stoffel Van Dorn is 10th in the championship for Red Bull. Another man that didn't score points but maintains the top 10 status in the championship. The next race for us is the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at Imola. Now, looking at the Constructors' Championship, the gap gets bigger at the top for Mercedes-AMG EQ. 271 points to the name, with Porsche on 149 points. McLaren are just about ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors. They're on 121 points. Ferrari are on 118 points. That gap is now just 3 points. Red Bull stay on 57 points, but stay ahead of Renault, who are now having to check behind them because Audi are making a little bit of a resurgence. They're just 1 point back now from them as they jump ahead of Jaguar, who are on 25 points. And at that battle at the back of the field, Aston Martin crucially held that 1 point advantage over BMW. But that is it for the British Grand Prix. Let's get straight into the post-race notebook and see what the teams and drivers had to say after this Grand Prix. Taking a look at the post-race notebook, Lewis Hamilton leads home a Mercedes 1-2, with Reese missing out on finishing in P2, instead having to come across the line in P3 just behind Tom's Mercedes, with Sam finishing in P4 for McLaren. A good recovery drive from him. Now, Reese admits that he actually lost that race with his battle with Lando Norris. Now, Lewis Hamilton, Reese and Norris were all in a battle for the win, but after they were scrapping away, Hamilton overtook Reese, in which Reese then tried to get back at Norris, but the two of them battled too hard and it meant that Hamilton was able to pull away. This then gave the opportunity for Leclerc and also Tom and even Sam to an extent to get involved in the act and take their positions away from them. Mercedes have dedicated this race victory and this 1-2 finish to the FIA. They did everything they could to stop Mercedes and it did not work. The team getting a 1-2 finish and extending their lead at the top of both championships. And Charles Leclerc has told Audi to keep the momentum going heading into the remaining races of this season. Now, Charles Leclerc, despite finishing behind the top 4 teams in Formula 1 this season, was very much in the mix from start to finish, battling the Mercedes, the Porsche, the McLaren and the Ferrari all race long. It was a very competitive drive from Charles Leclerc, and one that he was very proud of and wants to see that going. It's been too many occasions now where Audi have had a little bit of a blip at getting to the front of the field, but then all of a sudden getting hit with a reality check. Now's the opportunity for them to get back on form and get back to where he believes this team belongs. But that is it for the British Grand Prix. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well. And we will see you guys next time around for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Take care all.